You've met dog people and you've met cat people, but you might have overlooked bird people. Having birds as pets, especially talking birds, is such a fantastic experience because what other pet can have an actual conversation with you? However, putting birds in cages just seems cruel. Luckily, some birds thrive in an indoor setting, given that they're well taken care of. Here are some birds for beginners who want a chatterbox in their life. Number 6. Lovebirds. Lovebirds might be small birds, but they carry so much love in their tiny bodies that it's impossible to ignore them. They're actually the smallest out of the parrot family and surprisingly can be kept alone. But if they're in love with a mate, then you must keep them together. If you decide to go for a solo bird, then you'll have to provide for their daily dose of social interaction. But if you're a busy person and can't be around too much, then it's best to get them a partner. The best part about these pudgy, feathered friends is all the colors they come in. They're sure to brighten up anyone's day. They require a bit of training so they don't become too territorial. Otherwise, they'll start nipping and ripping things apart with their tiny beaks. Once they're well trained, they're bound to become your designated cuddle buddies. Lovebirds are super chirpy creatures. They start their sweet songs early in the morning, quiet down for a bit, and then restart again in the late afternoon. They need a lot of exercise, so it's recommended to get a 32-inch tall cage for them. And make sure to fill the cage with tons of chew toys, mirrors, shiny things, and wooden gnaws. If you couldn't tell, they're big chewers and even love to cut up some dye-free paper. Number 5. Canaries. If you're someone who enjoys a bit of calm music in the background, then a male canary can easily replace your white noise machine or radio. These tiny finches don't mind living alone because they have their songs to entertain them all day. Only male canaries sing pretty songs, and if you get 2 males in one space, they'll try to one-up each other and practically never shut up. The first thing you'll need to get is a 20 by 24-inch cage because even a single canary likes to fly around. Then comes the most important part: food. Generally, high-quality bird pellets are a staple, but you need to feed them fresh, chopped-up fruits and veggies too. But never feed your canaries avocados. They could be deadly to them and most other birds too. As a treat, they like to enjoy a bit of cooked meat, fish, egg, and cheese. Number 4. Parakeets. If you want birds with a bit more personality, then parakeets are just the right choice for you. These creatures are social butterflies and are constantly chirping, whistling, and chattering. Sometimes they even start mimicking sounds they hear inside the house, which can often give you a look inside at what happens in your household. A bird's most prized possession is their feathers. It helps them maintain a regular temperature, fly, and most of all, impress a mate. A parakeet will always be preening their feathers, so make sure to give them a shallow bathing dish or just a week left of fresh lettuce. This way, they can bathe by themselves. What you might find weird is that when your parakeet is super happy, it'll throw up some food. This behavior is called regurgitation and is actually a part of their courtship ritual. Sometimes birds get really close to their owner, so close that they want to mate with them. In this case, they'll regurgitate food on you. It's best to discourage this behavior because, frankly, it's kind of gross. Avoid petting below the back because that's considered a romantic gesture to them. Other than that, enjoy your little rock star. Number 3. Zebra finches. Bigger birds might be intimidating, but so are tiny ones, especially because they're so fragile. And the same goes for zebra finches. These are social creatures, which makes them even more sensitive to sudden sounds and cage relocation. Talk to them in a sweet, soft tone, and they'll listen to you intently. These small creatures are incredibly easy to keep, and they're active enough to keep you entertained throughout the day. And if you want them to stay entertained, then get 2 females, or else you'll end up with a bunch of baby zebbies. They love bonding with other finches, so you can definitely get more than a pair. However, they don't really bond with humans too well. You can train them to sit on your hand, but that's about it. They also don't talk much, which is a plus for people living in apartments and condos. The cutest thing about these creatures is that the father bird teaches his offspring to vocalize by singing to them. Then they add different bits to the song to personalize it. If you decide to get a young finch, sing to it to play some music so they can learn to become a true singer. Number 2. Amazon parrots. If you think all birds have been quite boring and you want something like the little guy from Rio, then the Amazon parrot could be your new avian best friend for life. These birds live a long time, about more than 30 years, so just know that they're a lifetime commitment. Amazon parrots love being in the spotlight. They adore talking to their owners and need tons of affection. Their favorite hobby is to do silly antics to cheer up their owners. They can learn to talk and can be quite loud, so be ready for that. As they grow older and reach sexual maturity, their demeanor might change. Generally, this bluffing stage can last up to 2 years, and during this time, they can get nippy and aggressive. That's why some owners opt for female birds or birds that have passed this stage. These birds are big and intelligent, which means they need a lot of room for mental stimulation. That's why they need a cage that's 3 feet wide and 4 feet tall at least. But obviously, the bigger the better. You'll need to spend a solid 2 to 3 hours with them, or else they might get depressed, bored, and even destructive. Since they have beaks built to break tough nuts and seeds, they could definitely cause damage to their surroundings. In short, only get these birds if you can make time to hang out with them every day for a couple of decades. Number 1. African Grace. In our opinion, the African grey is the ideal bird, and according to history, it has been for a long time. There's proof that they were kept as pets even in biblical times, and we'll tell you why. They might look like birds from a noir movie, but what they lack in color, they make up for personality. These birds can not only mimic human speech, but even understand it. You might have heard of Alex, a famous African grey who could identify over 100 objects and even communicate his desires. With a great brain comes great responsibility. These remarkable smart animals need lots of mental stimulation through puzzles, games, and just interactions with their owner. If you need to leave them alone, switching on a TV or radio is a good way to keep them entertained. Even though these birds love talking, they're not too loud. They only start to screech and scream when they're bored and neglected. To avoid tantrums fueled by boredom, let them out of their cages for about 1 to 2 hours and provide them with chew toys to keep their beaks sharp and strong. In the wild, these grey birds love to munch on fruits, leaves, insects, and flowers too. But in captivity, high-quality pellets should serve as their staple food, with a side of tropical fruits such as melon, mango, and pomegranate. If you're eating an all-green salad without any condiments, make sure to share some of it with them. Now that you have ample options to choose from, there are a few things that apply to all pet birds. Here are some bonus tips we promised in the title. Number 1. Cage care. First off, cages aren't their permanent residence. Some birds can and should be let out of their cage for some exercise. In general, the bigger the cage, the better, so get an appropriate size cage. Birds will usually return to their cages when they're hungry, thirsty, or need to rest. Another factor that you must never neglect is the cleanliness of the cage. It needs to be cleaned out regularly, or it could contaminate the food or water. That's also why you should never set up perches right above the water containers. Place your cage away from fireplaces, vents, ACs, and even direct sunlight. Try to keep the temperature and humidity of their living space stable, or they might get sick. Number 2. Prepare your home. Once you've got a bird in the house, you have to baby-proof it. That means the kitchen should be locked when the birds are out and about. Anything like fans and gas stoves should be kept off, and all your electrical cords should be hidden away, or they'll become their new chew toys. Lastly, reduce the use of Teflon, the stuff you find in non-stick pans, because birds are highly sensitive to the toxic chemicals it releases. Number 3. Routine. Humans and birds both like a predictable routine. Not only will this reduce any anxiety for your bird, but it will also help them adapt to routine maintenance habits. Also, with a routine in place, it'll be easier to tell if your bird is acting weird or sick. By routine, we mean that you should do the following things at the same time every day: meal times, changing tray papers, cage cleanouts, any sort of socialization, including games, talking, and training, cage-free time, and their bedtime. Another tiny detail that you might overlook is that birds rise and sleep with the sun. That means they'll be up chirping at dawn, and if that's something that could disrupt your lifestyle, then birds probably aren't the right choice for you. You can adjust your bird's routine so that it works out for both of you. But you can't change their circadian rhythm. After this video, you could probably open your own aviary, but it's better to start with just 1 or 2. And if you're not a fan of the winged creatures, then perhaps fins and scales might excite you. Watch this video if you think an aquarium might be a good choice for your home.